Hello everyone, welcome back. I want to talk a little bit today about AK-47 accuracy. This is a Romanian WASR. And here you go, 100 yards with a hollow sun red dot. It's actually 2 3/4 inch group. I mean, I'll call it 3 inches because it's well inside 3 inches, but it's actually 2 3/4 inch. But I'm perfectly comfortable just calling this a 3 inch group. I shot a group before this, where basically this is a 4.5 inch group, okay? And apparently I had one flyer over here. So if you look at these 4 shots here, I have a 3 inch cluster, okay? And then one of the shots, went off. I don't know if that's because of me or because of the ammunition. I'm using a Wolf Polyformance. Okay, so I'm pretty sure this isn't the best stuff out there. It's steel case, but even with this, I'm getting consistent 3 inch groups. And again, one more time, show you this. That's a staple hole, but ignore that. Okay, just inside of 3 inches at 100 yards with the red dot. Now, what I have on this AK-47 is I have a Midwest rail on it, which allows me to mount the hollow sun red dot directly on top of the gas tube. Now, the way this works is the bottom rail clamps onto the barrel, okay, and then the top rail clamp, basically screws onto that, and then the red dot mounts on top of that. So far, this is the best setup I've seen. A lot of people will sometimes say that they get shit accuracy out of these WASRs. The reason, most likely, is this. Okay, if you have one of these side rails, okay, like I used to have on this WASR, that slide on over there. Okay, couple of problems with this. First of all, the way this is set up. If you have a setup like this and you just push down on it like this, you'll notice there's a little bit of wobble. Okay, so I mean, this to me, I mean, it's secured from one side. It kind of wraps around. I mean, at one point, I even had the screws on top coming loose. I had to lock tight these down. At another point, basically the actual lock mechanism itself broke on this particular rail. But this is, I think that this is part of the reason why a lot of people get crappy accuracy out of AK-47s. It's the rail system. It's the fact that the thing is with AK-47s is that they are not optics friendly. Okay, they simply don't give you a whole lot of real estate, of good real estate, for mounting optics. They give you a side rail over here, which, like I said, can be problematic. I mean, first of all, this is riveted. This rail is riveted in place. I mean, over time, I can even see those rivets possibly coming loose. Or if you drop the gun, it falls on the rail. Basically, this is just not a good place to put a scope. So I don't like the rail system. I mean, obviously, the dust cover is not a good place because dust covers move. I mean, even in the newer, AK-107s that are basically, they have a hinge over here, and it locks up and down. This dust cover is something that moves by design. So I don't think that this will ever be good enough to take a scope. Okay, the best option right now is the mounting on top of the gas tube. Basically clamping down to the barrel. The drawback with that is if your barrel gets hot, if you shoot once you shoot more than 2 magazines through this rail starts getting really hot. That's why I have these plastic grips here, because the heat does transfer through, into the metal rail, and then your hand starts getting really hot. So I have these plastic grips here. But I generally don't use a glove when I shoot the AK-47 because if I feel that the gun is getting too hot to hold, I prefer to stop shooting it because I don't want to burn my scope, basically. Okay, so the best place to put a red dot or a scope, right? Ideally, this you know, this area over here where the rear sights sit, I mean, it would be wonderful if the factories started making this a Picatinny rail. Okay, this would be an ideal place. This spot right here on the receiver where they put this rear sight, that's where a Picatinny rail should sit, where you can mount a red dot or you know, put a red dot, because you wouldn't put a scope back here because you're not going to have, you know, like a magnification scope, because you wouldn't have good eye relief. And I'm not saying get rid of this. Leave that there. It doesn't weigh that much. Leave that side rail there. But the AK-47 design needs a Picatinny rail right here. That's the best place. Now you can put a rear sight back here on the dust cover, because if you're using iron sights, I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, you know, if this moves a tiny, you know, millimeter or something. So I'm okay with having a rear sight somewhere back here, but that area right here needs to become a Picatinny rail to move the AK-47 design forward. And if you look at like AR-15s, original AR-15s, you know, basically they had a carry handle, okay, and then over time, you know, that carry handle was removed, and in its place you put a Picatinny rail where you can mount scopes. Now you still have the option, if you really want to have a carry handle there, you know, you still have the aftermarket carry handles that will screw onto the Picatinny rail. So I feel the same thing about this. I mean, you know, make this a rail. You can by all means make this a rail, make this a rail. So make this one giant flat top over here, you know, with sections, and then you know, basically this section here would be the best place to mount a scope. But it's nice to you know, if the rest of this came as a rail as well. You know, the problem with AKs nowadays is that if you buy a standard AK, I mean, even if you get one of Palmetto's, they still are not giving you AKs that come with a with a rail over the gas tube. So you have to basically spend an extra $100, $100 to $150 to get yourself a place, a solid place to mount a red dot over the gas tube. But the gun itself is accurate. I mean, like I said, this is a Romanian WASR, and this is not the one that has the military stamps. Okay, I have another one that has a little triangle on the side over here. That means that it was inspected by the Romanian military. This one does not. So this is bottom of the bucket, and I'm still getting, you know, I still got a 3-inch group out of this. When I had the, I mean, at one point I had the side rail over here, and I had a magnification scope on top of that. I mean, and even with the magnification scope on the side rail, the best grouping I think I ever got out of this was like 8 inches, okay, because this sucks. So that's the answer. I mean, you know, that's the answer to the AK-47. You know, either for now, you know, you got to mount your red dot on top of the gas tube, clamp down to the barrel, and in the future, I hope they get the message, and the factories start turning this rear sight into a Picatinny rail, because basically these distance adjustments, I mean, they're very impractical. I mean, it's not something realistic. You're not going to shoot a gun like this at 1,000 yards. So this thing goes from, you know, 1 all the way up to 10. You know, so like I'm trying to tell you that this is a 1,000-yard gun, which it's not. So these are my thoughts on this, and you know, I've been working for a while with this gun, trying to get it, you know, to where I want it to be. You know, this Midwest rail over here did the trick. You know, it brought it down to 3 inches. I always knew that the gun, had a feeling the gun was capable of it. I had the feeling that it was I always knew it was really the mounting system for the scope. You know, that was the problem with it. You know, MOA, Romanian WASR, AK-47. So if you guys have any comments, feedback, please post them. You know, by all means, you know, if you guys shoot AKs, let me know how, you know, what's your best group with them. And the nice thing is, like, you don't need to spend, you know, a shit ton of money, because a lot of people are like, oh, you got to spend a lot of money on an AK in order for it to be any good. I mean, I bought this gun, I think it was like $500 when I bought it a couple of years back. I mean, I know now they're more expensive. I think now it's going somewhere in the area of like $700. But that's, you know, I think that's an import issue. You know, I think that's more of a supply and demand issue. So if you guys like this video, share it, give it a thumbs up. If you're not a member of my channel, subscribe. See you guys next time.